warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and welcome back to
In
Living
Living
Campus.
Campus.
So you're with me, Shasha Madu, and
I'm Aisha Ratisha, your host for today.
so apparently this is the third time consecutively that we're hosting together. The last episode, she said that she hated my guts.
Shasha, you've been telling that for almost 2 days and 1 night.
Of course, it's very saddening for me, but we're not going to talk about how she had vengeance towards me, but we're going to talk about a more heavier, deeper
A
issue.
more controversial topic, especially in IIUM,
True,
because I
true.
think this topic it does happen in IIUM, and maybe the staff, the student has facing this topic. So what is this topic, Shasha?
So, because IIUM stands for International Islamic University Malaysia, of course there will be some issues regarding racism. So today we're going to talk about racism among IIUM students, and we have prominent guests to talk about this topic today. So without further ado, let me bring to you Sir Nazriq and Ahmed. Woo! Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us here.
Don't be so awkward.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe Senaz, if you could please introduce yourself to our audience.
Alright, the name is Nazriq. I've been lecturing with IIUM for the past 7 years. And what else want to know about me? Maybe you want to guess my race, I
How
guess?
come we don't see you in Gombak campus that often?
Yeah, this is my
Because
first
I'm
time.
all the way from Gambang. I just drove here actually.
Oh.
Ah,
No
so you're
wonder.
teaching at the Center of Foundation
Yeah.
Studies. Ah, great. I think certain students would remember
Oh
him
God, no.
being your lecturer. He was my favorite lecturer, although he didn't directly lecture me, but whatever.
Yeah.
So let us bring to you the second guest. We've had him for the second time actually for this show.
Yeah, so I'm Ahmed Jagadar, as some might know. I'm from the Department of Human Sciences in studying communication, my first year.
Okay, so our topic for today is about racism, and I think there may be some people out there that didn't know what is racism. So could you
Right.
please define what is racism based on your own perspective?
Own perspective or technical? Own perspective.
It's either which one do you
Well,
prefer?
Racism is when there are inherent biases or prejudice towards a particular person because of the person's race. Alright, so let's say for example you hate someone from a certain race, or maybe you prefer someone from a certain race. So that's basically what racism is at its core.
Okay, so it's about preferable races or person like
Yeah,
that.
sometimes you can prefer a certain race. For example, maybe let's say a certain place only wants people from a certain race. That's racist. Or maybe you have a negative prejudice towards a certain race. That's also racist.
So I mean you're being biased to a certain group of people.
Yeah, you can be biased, can be prejudiced, can be negative, can be positive.
Okay.
So what about you? What's racism from your perspective?
Racism, I believe, is pretty much the same as Sir mentioned, as being prejudiced and biased towards a certain race, and also tending to have stereotypical views towards certain races.
Right.
Is, I think, what defines racism for me.
Okay, so overall, they agreed that racism is when you're being prejudiced and biased towards a certain community of ethnic or race, right? But in particular, we're going to talk about the prejudice towards students in IIUM regarding their race. So, when you hear the term diversity in the workplace or school, what comes to mind?
Well, diversity means that you're supposed to have people from different races working together and, understanding each other, playing on their, like every race has their own culture and way of looking at things. So you capitalize on all the strengths of each race. That's what it's supposed to be about. That's what diversity is.
And what about you as a student? What comes to mind when you talk about diversity in school or in classes?
Diversity in environment of a school or institution where we're studying, I believe, is to indulge and cooperate with people from different ethnicities and races and try to understand each other better is what I feel diversity is all about.
So there is a matter of tolerance and cooperation among everyone, regardless of their diverse backgrounds, right?
Yeah.
So I think we know that racism occur due to differences among the group of people,
Yes.
among the society. So do you think that they may be like, and also I think it's also about the belief that one people are superior than one another. Yeah. So maybe do you think that to what extent that the racism exists in IIUM community? Do you think it occurs to
Just
staff,
among students or
management and also the lecturers?
Well, to understand this concept, first of all, people like to live in their own group, in their own societies. That's the essence of human being, right? And humans technically they want somewhere or a group to belong to, all right? If you don't belong to any group, you feel like you're left out. So that element of race is something that is not exactly bad at all. For example, let's say, you come from a certain country and you travel to another country. So obviously you will not feel at home if you don't have people from your own nation, your own nationality, your own ethnicity, right? But it becomes something negative if you have this stereotype. For example, oh, people from race A is so and so, or for example, people from race B are noisy and stuff like that. Right? So that's where it starts to become negative.
I see. So it's very
response-
concerning,
Yeah,
right?
because that racism occurs because they feel like they want to feel belong, but then to the extent that their behavior, like too extreme, to the extent that they exaggerate their behavior and
Yeah.
so on.
And they might not realize that what they think is bad is actually not bad, because different races have different practices and different ways of looking at things. When I was a student last time in this university, right? Now we all know that in Malaysia, most of us, if we were to talk to each other, we will not talk to each other too loudly, right?
Right.
We don't want to disturb the flow of things. And then I noticed that, for example, like I had one roommate. I forgot from which country he was from. Forgive me. I forgot my own roommate's origin. I think it was Eritrea or Guinea, somewhere in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that he always talks very loudly. All right. So if you were to be racist, you would assume, oh, they are very loud people. They don't understand. They're uncultured and stuff like that. All right. And then one day, my mom called me on the phone. All right. And I didn't want to disturb him while he was sleeping, so I just spoke silently. He came to my compartment. He was like, "What are you doing, brother?" So that's why, when the thing is, different races have different values and different concepts going on. So I asked him, okay, what's the problem speaking silently? So apparently in his culture, it's rude to speak silently. It's actually polite to talk loudly.
So it is different according to where you come from.
Yeah.
From African culture.
I forgot which country exactly. Oh my God, forgive me. I really.
Okay, just remember the country, but for them it's comfortable. It's because the people around us
Yeah.
spoke loudly, but to us it's very rude.
And it got very interesting because when I asked him further, he said that in some parts of his country, the belief is that if you talk silently, you're backbiting.
Oh, backbiting.
Alright.
So we have like
So to
different.
be transparent, you
yes.
talk loudly.
Yeah, so we have different perceptions on volume of us talking, for instance, like where in some continents or some places, talking slowly or silently in most situations is you being polite, but like when you're from the African continent, they would take it as you trying to badmouth that person, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so why do you think racism is happening, especially in an international university, other than the fact that they came from probably different cultures or perspectives, etc.?
So I think that because people, how Mr. mentioned before, that are comfortable along with their ethnicity or group,
Right.
and then this person comes from a foreign land with different customs and cultures and ideologies.
Values.
So different values. When they come and indulge and communicate with these people, as with the example provided, that it is considered quite different from culture to culture.
Right.
So not many people take it as something which is welcoming to them, and it in turn tends to become something which is negative, and that's what creates stereotypes and prejudices and so on and so forth.
So he mentioned
About
about
the
stereotypes,
stereotypes.
which leads us to the fifth question.
The last question will be like, do you think stereotype contribute to racism in our country? Maybe.
Definitely. I mean, some stereotypes can kind of be handy. For example, there's this stereotype that if you're Chinese, you're smart and you're good at math.
Yeah.
Supposedly. So sometimes it can help, but it's sad when sometimes stereotypes. Oh, people of this race are lazy, for example. So sometimes you might be judged wrongly because of stereotypes.
It's either the stereotype are good or negative.
Yeah.
Right. So stereotypes really do contribute to racism. So when we will talk more about racism in general, we'll take a short break right after this. Stay tuned.
Yes, I strongly agree.
Yes, because in this university, we live in a multicultural community. Because in this university, we have students from Indonesia, Thailand, and from Middle East, and so on.
I don't think that the issue of racism is the main issue in IIUM here, because first of all, of course, we are IIUM, and we are implementing triple ICE. We are very open with internalization. And the second one, because our university is not created based on racism based like UITM, UM, and so on. Plus, in IIUM, we are known as the most university with foreigner student with more than 25%. So that I think not just IIUM don't have the issue of racism, even we can be one of the idol for to uphold the issue of integrity, issue of integration, unity, and so on.
Yes, I do believe that racism exists in the IUM community, but I also share the opinion that racism is a term that may be overused or maybe used in situations where it's not exactly applicable. Like it may be other kinds of discrimination or other kinds of barriers, but it's not necessarily racism. But I do agree that it definitely does exist.
In my opinion, I think this kind of act should not be happen in this Islamic university because we are living in a multicultural community. So, as we all know, we are learn respect and tolerate with each other. So we should ban this kind of act, so we can live in a peace and harmony environment. That's all from me.
I think that maybe because they are living in foreign country, not their country. Of course they will feel like that. But the main issue here is that do we discriminate them or not? If we don't discriminate them at all, so I think it's normal for us to feel like we are in foreign country when we are in overseas.
Thank you.
Although racism does exist, I would say that I do not bear much of the burden or the brunt of it because people often assume or mistaken me for a Malaysian. But since I am of that neutral standpoint, I can clearly see the discrimination or the distinguishment between how they treat you when they perceive you as a local and how they treat you when they perceive you as an international. And I would say that in my 2 years of being in UIA, I've definitely noticed a few instances where they were more impatient or intolerant and whatnot towards the international students when it's due to factors that they cannot help, such as language barriers, such as cultural barriers, communication barriers, and whatnot.
Actually, yes, it was a bad experience. It was when the first time I came to Malaysia, and there was the security, the guard, and that time I was living in Mahala Rupaya. So there was a dog. They tried to hunt it down and they shoot it down and killed it. So we went to them as international students because the dog was not doing anything like wrong. He's just like walking and passing by. But then because some maybe students, girls especially, they do reports about the dog, so they went to hunt him. And we went to them telling them like, why you have to kill the dog? Just let it be. He's not doing anything wrong. Suddenly he was like speaking in Malay. One of my Malay friends can understand Malay. He was saying actually like, why do these international students care? It's like if they don't like it, you just can go back to their country. It's like my first week in Malaysia, you know, and I got already that. After that, I got a lot of experience with these dads. Not that, but some of them, like they really cannot take the internationals. And there is I admit maybe some internationals like they can be problematic and they can make a lot of problems, but you know you cannot like generalize like everyone to being a bad person. So yeah, I think especially some of the lecturers as well, they are being racist with some international students. Like if they are Malay, they can help you with some marks or you know what I mean. But if you are international, because most of the international students come late to the class, it's like a habit already. It's like normal. But the tradition here, like they have to obey the rules. So when someone obey the rules, they're gonna be like a bad person, especially student international students. So I think that's my experience, and I hope that they can really accept the international and open their mind and open their heart to us.
Welcome back to IIUM campus.
Are you okay?
It was so sudden. Okay.
Right, it was so sudden, but it's okay. We still can get on track to ask the next question.
Okay. So the next question will be like I will direct this question to Ahmad. Okay. So have you ever experienced racism firsthand, or maybe have seen it or face to face?
I have faced quite a lot of racism.
So choose the best one.
The
I
best
think,
one.
sadly, it is to say that one of the worst experiences I've had is in our very campus. And it was quite upsetting because it didn't come from some outsider or a student, it was a staff member. And as they're professionals in the field, they need to be engaging with public
Student
who are
alike.
not from their culture or ethnicity. Yet I was met with a very direct statement saying, you internationals are liars. So it was quite shocking to me and quite disheartening as well, because I was in need of help from that particular person, yet I was met with such a racial statement. So yeah, I think that's one of the very strong and harsh experiences I've faced in our very campus, sadly.
And also, it's very not professional at all because the staff are dealing with a lot of international students. So how could you be racist
True.
to
Right,
one of
so-
your client or maybe one of your student? Oh my goodness, that was very not professional at all.
Yeah, agreed. So what about you, Mr. Nazriq? Have you
Alright.
experienced it firsthand?
Definitely. Okay, first of all, what race am I?
I can't tell.
Because that seems to be the core of the racism thing. Here's the funny thing, on IC it says Malay, but I don't see Malay enough for the
Yeah.
Malays. So when
Right,
I was a
maybe
kid,
Chinese.
when I went to the Malays, hey Chinese, don't come here. I was like,
Huh?
and then when I go to the Chinese, they say, hey Malay, don't come here. So I was like,
So of course you'd be very puzzled. Like, if I'm not Chinese nor am I Malay, then what am I?
yeah. So most of the discussions on racism focus on a singular race, but I think it's very interesting to talk about people who are of mixed race, because first of all, they already have this thing where, okay, which race do I belong to? And then racism can be either very funny or very, very sad for people who are of mixed race as well. Alright? There are many instances, alright, when I go to a surau in any shopping mall and they say, oh, ni tempat orang Melayu, this is a place for Muslims or Malays. I'm like, yeah, I'm Muslim. Hello.
So maybe you have to
Take out your IC.
It's like I don't look Muslim enough or Malay enough or like any Muslim race. So yeah, sometimes the racism can be, kind of crazy.
Yeah.
And I face it very regularly.
So for Nazriq, it's because her physical appearance doesn't look
Her?
like a Malay.
Her?
Eh,
His physical
doesn't
appearances.
look like a Malay. though. So maybe Shasha, do you face any racism since you are quite popular in IIUM?
I'm not
so
popular. First disclaimer, I'm not popular, right?
Disclaimer.
Who are you?
Okay.
See? Exactly. But I might have not encountered it that much, but what I would tell you is because I take outside jobs quite a lot, like
Okay.
especially hosting, and I once get involved with a certain race organizers, Chinese, and then they were talking in their language and they left me
that's
out.
quite
So
common. They talk in
yes.
their language, and do you expect us to understand that?
Face that a
of
lot.
course, you've been there. He was where, yeah, I've been there, I felt that. So, when we are in these situations, what do you think is the best way to react if you are in a situation where racism is present?
Alright, one thing about facing racism, it's not going to be easy, but it's always best to be the better person. Do not respond negatively and try to set a good example. Try to make them, how do I say, try to teach them a lesson and make them eat their words, I would say that, alright?
Oh, how is that? Like,
So-
why don't you reenact that kind of situation?
Well, there are a few I can think of right now. So there was one case where students thought I wasn't Malay, right? So they were talking about me in Malay. And I was like, so I spoke Malay to them. I was like,
They were taken aback.
That was a funny one. And there was one part because back during my time, all HS and band students have to take Arabic until level 6.
Yeah.
Alright, which is very, very high level, alright?
Right.
And then there were some Arabs talking about stuff. They thought I didn't understand. It was not about me, but it was something that, shouldn't be said in a public place. So I just told them I understood. I was like, oh crap, this guy understands.
So they were talking about you or not?
They're talking about something which, an inappropriate comment about someone else in that particular place.
Right. So what about you? Because you've dealt with racism situations. So what would be your way to react towards those kind of situations?
I think it is important that you try to be the better person and not always have a negative response to it, because negativity begets negativity, and then nobody gets anything out of it. So you tend to have a more humble approach, I'd say. Try to understand where they come from, because they're dealing with people who are not coming from their background, so we can't really judge what they perceive as what we're dealing with. So I think try to understand their situation and try to hold back anything, because it's really hard to hold back when you're met with with something which is quite negative. Frustration and anger does come out, like, how can you say that to me? But it really doesn't help in any situation. It in turn creates a more solid perception of those people. Okay, these people are bad. I knew he would react in a negative way. So I think just be more humble and try to understand where they come from.
Right, because sometimes the best action that you can do is just being kind towards others, right? So
Okay, so let's say like I give you a situation where you guys are the one who is racist.
Be a
Okay,
racist.
so maybe what did you do to change that kind of mindset from being racist to being
right, because
racist?
probably you've experienced yourself being a racist towards others. So what did you do to
Unintentionally,
change?
perhaps. Alright, yeah. Maybe there were times I might have been unintentionally racist towards people, and I would feel that here's the thing: racism is something that's learned. It's not natural. You have to pick it up from either family or society itself. It's a value that has to be somehow either absorbed or passed on. So previously, I did have, without realizing it, a certain judgment towards certain races. Not exactly that negative, but maybe I shouldn't have had that judgment. And that was because of how people say, oh, this race is like this, is just like this, alright? But once I started teaching students, because after I thought you guys in Academy and Crescent, right? And you had all the students from different nationalities, hey, you know what? They're cool, no problem, alright? So it's something about racism is we can learn to be racist, and we can also learn to not be racist.
Right. So I don't know, when I hear Sir Nazriq talk, it suddenly reminds me of my days back in CFS, listening to him lecturing and teaching and giving advices. So, while we step out of that topic, astaghfirullahalazim, I'm currently zoned out a bit. Do you think that someone has never experienced racism?
I believe yes. Some people have not come out of their comfort zone, always surrounded. Yeah. Surrounded.
I never faced racism, maybe because I'm still in UAE, I'm still in Malay society.
True.
I didn't was exposed too much
Right.
to Chinese or maybe Indians, so I never faced it. And I
Yeah.
don't know how will I react if I was in this situation.
Right, so probably like in your opinion, yes, there are people who have never faced racism in their daily life situation, and it could be the majority of the race.
Yeah.
So while we cool down a bit, we'll be right back after the short break. Stay tuned.
Hi, my name is Mazrain. I am production assistant for beauty.
Hi everyone, my name is Gamon and I'm a production assistant for audio.
My hobby obviously are surfing internet, sleeping and eating and playing around with my friends, hanging around with my girls. So
I have various of hobbies. For instance, I like to play basketball, I love to jog, and I love to do mini workouts in my room.
For me, I think I have a habit where I like to peel off my dry lips. So that's why my lips a bit dry and I have to put on my lipstick all the time.
People say that if I'm too comfortable in a place, I don't mind wherever the place is. But I can lay down the place and roll over the floor, and I don't care if people are looking at me. So yeah, that's something weird about me.
I think I love collecting sneakers where I have a lot of shoes in my room. I have about 8 to 9 shoes in the room, so that's the fact about me.
One of the best qualities about me is that whatever work is presented in front of me, I will try my best to do it, regardless of how tough it is. I will try my best to finish it with the quality that the person wants from me.
I think every episode has their own fun moments in our production. For example, for our first episode in season 5, there were a hectic moment where we all having fun. So I think that's the point of it.
For me, I guess it's every episode because not only you're doing work professionally, but my intention of being here in this one is not only to do not for the work experience, but to make good friends. And I always count every episode as one of the best moments of my time in ILC. Please do follow us at IMTV on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
And make sure to watch us on IIUM TV YouTube channel every Tuesday at PM on
In Living Campus.
Hello there everyone, welcome back to In Living Campus. Right, we've now reached the final minutes of the show. So before we delve further into this topic, we are going to play a game, which was already played last week, but with new guests. So this game is about state 3 facts of yourself in which one of them is a lie. So the rule is simple. You just state those 3 facts and the rest of us have to guess which one is a lie. Are you guys ready?
Yep.
Can you see like Sir Nazriq's face? He is actually thinking, what can I lie about? Because fun fact, they don't really know how to lie.
How do you know?
He just said it before the show. Alright, so we will begin with the guests first.
So which one do you want to start?
So me? Okay,
Yeah.
first. So I just state them out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we have to guess which one is a lie.
Okay, so I really don't like studying,
Right one.
and I love working out. And another thing is that I like playing music instruments, like the guitar or piano. Yeah, so guess which one's the
So
lie.
Sir's reaction was like,
Which one is
I
it?
think Sir have the answer, so maybe Sir could
Yeah.
choose.
What? You like studying, right? It's a lie. Didn't it?
Alright, so he stated number 1. What about you?
I think number 1.
So
I don't
easy.
Number 1 was a lie.
I don't know. I think everything that he stated was a lie. Like, I don't know which one to choose because every time he said it, he was like, yeah.
You don't trust him?
Yeah, I don't trust him. I would say number 3.
No, that's a fact.
Oh, that's a fact. So the lie was?
So yeah, the first one is that I don't like studying. I love studying.
So Nazriq
Can't relate.
Yeah, it was,
Can't relate.
I don't know how was it. Is it so easy to
I
give
mean,
it off?
can't relate. I can't relate. He loves studying? No, can't relate.
Never study.
Never mind. Let us move on to the second guess.
Alright, let's make this more complicated.
Okay.
Alright, so
Okay.
let us analyze Nazriq's
Okay.
face
Your
reaction.
eyes. Manipulative eyes.
I love sandwiches.
Okay.
I love catfish.
Catfish?
I love fried chicken.
Oh my gosh.
It's all about food. Well, I know Sir Nazriq's not a picky eater.
Actually, number 2 because some people don't like catfish because of the smell.
What about you?
I think sandwiches. I
Oh
think
come
you
on,
don't.
he looks very American.
He looks very American.
What?
I would say number 3 because it's oily and
So
greasy.
each one of us has different answer. Okay.
Alright, so I don't like catfish.
Ah, you got it right.
And the reason
Chicken for
because-
life, chicken for life.
Chicken
Why
for
you
life.
didn't like catfish?
I don't know. I mean,
Because of the smell, right?
not, it's not because of the smell. It looks crunchy. It looks delicious.
Yes, yes, yes.
But when you see the live catfish, like man.
Okay, understandable.
Alright, so next is you. Your turn.
Okay. So I'm a K-pop hardcore fans.
Number 1,
Yeah.
K-pop hardcore fan. Number 2,
Number 2, I used to go to one of their concert.
used to go to one of their concerts. Number 3,
Number 3.
she can't come up with another fact right now. Are you serious?
Okay.
That's a
I
lie.
love to eat lah.
You love
Sorry?
to eat.
Yeah.
Well, now which one is a lie? What are your guesses?
The last one.
The last one.
She had to think about it.
Yeah, I think that was
The
quite
last one.
evident.
And you?
The last.
The last one.
Oh my goodness. Actually, it was number 2.
Oh.
I've never been to their concert.
Oh, that's
okay.
sad. But don't worry. I mean, you'll have the moment to go there next time. All right.
Okay, so it was your turn, Shasha.
My turn.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I can't lie. I'm not a good liar. I'm not a good liar. All right.
Come on, Shasha, stop it.
Number 1, I don't have a boyfriend. Why are you guys laughing? Number 2, I speak Korean.
Okay.
And number 3, I don't enjoy cycling.
So I know the answer, but then let the cat.
Can you guys zoom in to Sir Nazriq's face, like the thinking man?
You answer.
What are your guess?
I think the second one. Yeah, you can speak Korean. Is it?
All right, and you?
The first one because you laughed.
What about you?
Number 3, obviously.
Number 3.
Yeah.
Are you sure? Oh dear.
Yes.
To answer your question, number 1, right? You answer. 당신 너무.
Oh, nice.
So number 1 is wrong. I speak Korean. No wait. Number 1 was. I have a boyfriend. My boyfriend will be so offensive.
Yeah. That's why I know
I
about
have a
that.
boyfriend. So don't you think
Maybe certain you are single forever.
that's very sad? But yes, I speak Korean and I have a boyfriend. Right. That was not as fun as it would seem. But let us continue to wrap up the topic for today. So, in your opinion, do you think that racism will ever go away?
Racism will not go away until people start to learn from each other and to realize that, being in different races is not a bad thing. I think it's good we look in the Quran, like I think it's Surah, if I'm not mistaken, Surah Rum verse 22, that we created you into different tribes and different colors and different races so that you may learn from each other. That's I think, not Rum, that's something like another thing. I think it's Al-Ankabut. I'm not so sure. Oops, sorry, all the
But in the Quran, it is stated,
in the
right?
Quran, there's one verse that says that we have created you into different genders and different races,
Right.
so that you may learn from each other because every race has something different to offer. So until people can realize that different races equal different varieties, we'll still have problems.
What about you? Do you think that racism will
I
go away?
think it will go away. It might take quite a while because everyone has a difference of opinion.
Right.
However, I think the reason it will go away is because of how the current climate and status quo is. People are becoming more tolerant and becoming accepting to different norms and values. So I think we are on the right track. Let's hope we go far and abolish racism as a whole.
Okay, so maybe from your own view, what do you think we should do, especially in IIUM, in order to reduce the racism?
We should embrace all the races. We should, choose a roommate from a different nationality, be group mates with other races and other nationalities. I mean,
That
it's an
was a
international
very hard
university.
move.
So what's the point of being in an international university if you're going to be with the same race?
That's a good point. That's a good point. What about you?
I think people should communicate and indulge more with different races. Like indulge in communication or work.
Embrace
Each other, because as I've been saying, that not everybody has the same sort of background or perspective on certain things, so we can always learn from each other, get an understanding of how different people think from different parts of the world. And I think that's what will create a climate where everybody is accepting towards each other's lifestyle.
Right. So the ways to actually combat this issue, of course, is to embrace all the differences in
And also be
IIUM.
like more open-minded to the differences and so on.
Yes, and not be too selfish towards your own certain race, right? So what are your final thoughts regarding this issue?
I think as racism in IIUM as the topic for today, sadly it's a growing concern because a lot of people are facing it, including me, which I have faced quite often. And people are trying to combat it, trying to promote this multicultural lifestyle among students in IIUM. But we need to, I think, put in more of an effort for people from different races to communicate and educate people on how we come from a different place and we have different views on certain things, and understand other person's perspective also. So just create the environment of understanding each other and being more tolerant.
Right. So what about you? What are your final thoughts?
Well, if we can love K-pop like Jimin and BTS and all that.
He knows.
Yeah, of course I
everyone.
know. If we can love Japanese anime, if we can love Black Panther, and they're all from different races, what's wrong with living in the rest of the world?
True.
That's so deep. Yeah, I mean, it's short, but it's how do you say it?
Like they feel like the moment you feel like those words
Deep.
are
Hashtag deep. Like that. What about you, Sarah? What is your hope regarding the racism issue in
I just
IIM?
hope that people will be more acceptance on this issue and stop being so judgmental and also discriminate others. Okay, that's all.
Okay, that's all. Right. So what we can agree from here is that for us to combat or to deal with this racism issue, we have to try and embrace the differences and be more open towards others, be more accepting, because by the end of the day in this world we live with different people every day. We can't just be we can't just think that the world just revolves around just one race in particular. And in order for us to reach the harmony, we have to, tolerate and cooperate with each other. And with that, we would like to thank our guest for coming today.
Yay.
I think he's actually glad that this show has ended. So, right. So now we've reached the final minute of our show. Thank you to Jatimas for sponsoring our furnitures, our backdrop, and thank you in Living Campus for having me for the third time consecutively on this show. Meet you never, Saada.
Okay, so take note, guys. Sasha won't be in our show.
Yeah.
Okay, so don't forget to follow our YouTube channel and also our Instagram in order to get more issue on this topic.
Yes, don't forget to follow us on IIUM TV, Instagram, and also check out our YouTube channel, IIUM TV, to check out our past episodes and also other shows on IIUM TV itself. My final words, always remember, together we make the world a better place. And with that, we will see you next time in Living Campus. See you on next episode. Bye!
Bye.